Hello. So I had the wildest experience the other day, and I have been dying to talk to you guys about this, but I needed a full day to process what was going on. It was that crazy. Yeah, let's just jump into it. I was on a meeting with a client and their web designer, and this web designer did not want to be a web designer. It was very obvious because of how this person interacted with their client. And it was shocking to me. And afterwards, I had a conversation with the client of like, what just happened and how we do business differently. And he told me why he hired me in the first place was because of some of these core values that I operate with, especially with interacting with clients. And maybe they don't like something, or you're trying to level up to a different level of client, a different level of income. You're going to have these things in place in order to attract those clients and keep them. And I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm not gatekeeping. So, from this interaction, it reminded me of things that I do that I assume are normal, but was shown otherwise. In this conversation, this person told the client they were wrong multiple times. And when the client requested something, they acted like it was the dumbest thing they've ever heard. And yeah, said ethically and morally, they couldn't use the same color as somebody else because they would be stealing their color. Ridiculous. And if that's ethically and morally wrong, then everybody's done it because there's only a certain amount of colors in the world and we've all used them. So I don't even know why that was in her mind, but bless her heart. If a client poses something and tells you that they want to do something that goes against your advice or your knowledge as an expert, there's a way to make them aware of that. So if I ever have a client that says, Amanda, I want to do this thing, and I know that this thing isn't the best way for them to spend their money, I'd be like, cool, can you tell me why you think this is the best approach? Like, where did you get this idea or this strategy or whatever? And, they'll be like, oh, my friend, he does ecom and he suggested this, or, oh, I saw it on Oprah or whatever. Then I'll be like, okay, yeah, that gives me kind of context. And it does make sense for that demographic, or it does make sense for the way that that was being presented. Let me explain how that's a good idea, but I'm going to give you an even better one. And I think it's going to get you the results. I'm happy to test both and then we can compare. Ultimately, it's going to be your decision, but my expert advice is blah, 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 blah. And so I say all that to say, you never make your client feel stupid, even if the suggestion or what they're asking for or what they're saying is stupid. There's a way to, reroute them because there's obviously a desired outcome. That's why they're bringing the strategy and they want to be involved. So sometimes you're going to have those clients that want and need education in your line of work to help them understand why you're doing what you're doing. And I always try to not give that information up front just because it overwhelms them. But if the client's asking for it, I'm more than happy to tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing. There isn't any reason why I shouldn't tell a client what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing. The only reason why I don't do that in the first place sometimes, or why I might even hold back, is because it's overwhelming. And that brings us to point number 2. So point number 1 is never make your client feel stupid for suggesting stuff. And if they want to be involved, involve them. It's not such a big deal. Number 2, which it brings me to that, is that you never want to give your client more work. So when with high net worth clients, they don't need a lot of education. They usually don't need a lot of explanation, and they sure as hell don't need additional tasks. It's your job as a freelancer, if you want to work with high net worth, high achieving clients, to take things off their plate. They've come to you usually because they have a lack of time. And they know they need something to get done and they don't have the time or the expertise to do it. So they're hiring you. So whenever I'm faced with a situation, specifically with high net worth clients, and there's like a small task, like let's say, scheduling emails. As a copywriter, part of my job is not to schedule emails. However, if I have a high net worth client and they do not have somebody to do that, I'm just going to automatically assume that. I'm just going to automatically take that on because I do not need to give them another decision to make around me. I don't need to give them another reason not to pay me or not to have me do what I'm doing, right? You're always trying to make it the easiest, most peaceful yes of their day. So, as my job, working with high net worth people, I've worked with billionaires, multi-billionaires. I have a couple multi-billionaires, multimillionaires clients currently. My job is to protect their time, their energy, and their peace. And so as a freelancer, how make sure you're limiting what you're putting on their plate and their questions, or you're making it the easiest possible solution for them. So even in this meeting, this designer was asking the client to organize all these pictures and do all these things. And I went in and said, hey, do you want me to just go grab the top 10 that I think look great? And then if you don't like it, we'll switch it out. And the sigh of relief the client gave when I proposed that was like obvious. The last thing he needs to do is sit through all these pictures he just had spent all his time taking, with a professional photographer and selecting 10 that look good on the website. I can do that. The web designer could have offered to do that, but she did not. And he even said, all I saw was your value going up and their value going down. And he says, that's why I like working with you because you're very proactive and you take care of things. You just get things done. And this is not to be confused with scope creep. This is not to be confused with, doing stuff and not getting paid for it. This is specifically with high net worth clients who are already paying me a very good retainer. I'm determined to have a long relationship with that client. So the lifetime value of that client is just being extended as I take care of these things for them. There is a strategic way to make your client aware of how much work you're doing for them. If that gets out of control, we can talk about that in another thing. But that's my second point, is to protect your client's time and energy, and they will love you for it, especially high net worth people. You have to make it the easiest, most convenient, most peaceful, fun experience you can for them. Otherwise, they're going to add you to a list of things, whether consciously or subconsciously, to eliminate and get rid of. You just want to make their life easy and you want to be proactive in that. And that comes to number 3, which is proof over promise. And this is my client's, tagline, honestly. But it's like, how can you provide value, tangible results, quickest possible way? So when I work with a client and we have a strategy of content or copy or PR, any sort of marketing strategy, I always try to blend 2 types of strategies together. I put in a couple things to get immediate vanity results. And then I also am putting into play more longer term sustainable strategies to get the long-term results. So we're meeting both needs at the same time, the short term and the long term. And this just helps your client. It boosts their belief in what you're doing. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel like they got a great investment, gives you a great upfront win. There's a lot of things. Obviously, do it ethically, do it right. But I always suggest blending those together. So that could look like, getting them booked on a podcast, or using, some of your retainer to put towards boosting content for them, or some sort of engagement, that kind of stuff. While at the same time, you're building them the brand, you're building them the one sheet, you're doing more long-term work in the background at the same time. So those are my three tips on how to acquire, attract, and hold on to high ticket clients, high net worth clients. To review, number 1 is never make them feel stupid for asking questions. And give them solutions, multiple solutions that include meeting their immediate needs while also meeting the long term strategic need. Number two is protect their time, energy, and peace. Make everything super easy for them, even if that means taking on little pieces of work that are minuscule to you, but would be just insanely overwhelming for them. And number three is give them proof over promise. So don't just tell them what you're going to do, show them immediately through blending short term strategies and long term marketing strategies to get short term wins as well as long term ones. So this is me completely off the cuff, just telling you my thoughts. And yeah, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me and subscribe because I'm trying to build this. Yeah, I'm Amanda with Cashflow Copy, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.